Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Connections 2017. As many of you know, this is, I think, my 11th Connections event. I am incredibly excited to be here. And I will tell you very personally that this is the most exciting agenda that we have ever shared at a Connections event. I'm very excited and very honored to take and show you all of the great work that the teams have done and that we've done collaboratively as a community. So I always struggle with what to say on this slide, but I think I actually have an opportunity. We have an amazing agenda. We're going to show you more than we've ever shown before, some of the benefits of privatization. A lot of great demos, a lot of amazing technology. So this is really the most ambitious Connections presentation we've ever done. And we're going to structure the conversation this morning across 3 major chapters. First, I want to make sure that we're all together and we understand where we left last year. Then we're going to catch everybody up. What have we done together as a community over the last 12 months? And then we're going to shift the conversation and talk about the next 12 months with 3 big ideas. So let's start with Connections 2016. Where did we end last year? So last year, when we left the conference, we talked about our simple guiding belief. More people who use analytics, more value is obtained. Speaking personally, I see in Silicon Valley a drive and an initiative to sort of remove the human being from the decision-making process. It's as though people are the problem. And the real goal is to automate everything and put the computer in charge. It's our view that the human is at the center of the decision-making process. Clearly an opportunity to augment, to make people have an easier time, make better decisions, avoid bad decisions. But really, the human being is at the center of the decision-making process. And we talked last year about the fact that the data landscape is changing. Data is moving from on-premise data stores to data lakes and to the cloud. And we talked about a vision of creating a governed data layer and making all of that data available through Qlik. We also made sure that we didn't lose sight of the fact that much of the data in the enterprise doesn't sit in governed sources. It sits in your desktop, right? It sits local to you. And we talked about layers of trust, data that I trust that's local to me versus data that's at the center that's governed and I trust because it's delivered to me. So we talked about this idea of creating and bringing together all of the data in the enterprise, data that I trust that's local to me, big data sources, and governed data sources. We also talked about the changing infrastructure, moving from traditional on-premise data centers with their servers to private cloud infrastructure, public cloud infrastructure, and even to edge computing infrastructure. And we talked about creating a scalable architecture for Qlik that scaled all the way from the largest servers in your data center down to edge devices in your network. And lastly, we talked about an ambitious agenda from a user perspective. Of course, everybody thinks of Qlik around the self-service visualization use case. But we recognize that there are important use cases around mobile and around printed output, around web applications that you build on top of the platform, and embedded use cases. So we really thought about the full user experience all the way from visualization to voice, that full experience across all of those use cases. And this is the bold and ambitious vision and agenda that we set at the end of Connections 2016. Which brings us to where we are today. So what have we done since then? So when we talk about our product strategy and the objectives that we have as an organization for delivering software, I believe it's really important to come to that problem from the perspective of our strengths. A very common question that I get when I meet with you, with partners, with customers, I'll get the question, what makes Qlik different than brand X? And it's really important for me, for you to understand, while it is important from a selling perspective to understand how Qlik is different than our competitors, from a product development perspective, it is much more important that we understand what makes us unique rather than what makes our competitors different. Because it's my firm belief that if you spend time studying your competitors, you end up building bad versions of their product, not great versions of your own. So the three key differences for Qlik are, first, the idea of empowerment with governance, that we're building capabilities not only to empower end users with great visualization, but to make IT organizations and governance organizations successful in managing the vast data stores and infrastructure that they have available to their users. Second, that we're not building a product. We're building a platform. We will deliver a product on that platform, and you will deliver products on top of that platform as well. And last but not least, in fact, arguably most importantly, the idea of association, allowing everybody to see the whole story in their data. This unique combination of a user interface and a powerful analytic engine married tightly together to create a differentiated, a unique experience for you, our users. That's what makes Qlik unique and different, and these are the core strengths that we build from and that we think about in building our product strategy. And from that, we've delivered a tremendous amount of software over the years. So we start with the data. We've invested heavily in connectivity around data to make data sources available to Qlik, including the world-class data market offering, in fact, offering not only connectivity to data, but data itself. On top of this, we have our world-class Qlik Associative engine, right? And the engine is an area where we are doubling down our investment, and you will see that in a few minutes. On top of that common engine, we build QlikView, and we've maintained and continued the annual release cadence for QlikView. And we've built the QAP, the Qlik Analytics platform, and QlikSense. And a little sort of secret just between us. We didn't actually build QlikSense, not first. We first built the platform. We went back to the development team, and we said, what would you like to see in a platform? You're a developer. How would you like to see a platform built? What kind of APIs would it have? How would it work? What interfaces would you build on it? And the team first built a world-class platform. On top of that platform, they built QlikSense, which is what we took to market initially, and we followed on with the QAP. So for us, the QAP is as important an offering as QlikSense itself. And on top of that platform, everyone in this room is delivering a whole series of applications. But this platform strategy has also allowed us to bring in solution offerings that add value from a customer perspective. So things like M-Printing and Qlik Geo Analytics. So I hope you see the Qlik that you see today has a much broader, more ambitious product portfolio than we've ever had before. And our goal is to increase the pace with which we deliver innovation to you. So we are, in fact, moving to 5 releases a year. And this is important because as we transition to deliver cloud, we want to align our on-premise product release strategy with a cloud delivery model. We actually ship capabilities to Qlik Cloud every single day. In fact, sometimes multiple times a day. Now, we understand that shipping software to you every day may be a bit onerous, so we need to find a way to create alignment. And that's where we're moving to this concept of the 5 releases a year. For more practically speaking, in 2017, we're going to deliver 4 releases this year. The next release will be the ClickSense June 2017 release. Now notice that I called it the ClickSense June 2017 release, not ClickSense 4.0. So we're also changing the naming convention of the releases. So no longer a version number like 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, but the idea of the month and year. And this is also really important from your perspective. The goal is that the 5 releases a year are all equal. There's no major, minor. The intention is to create easy to upgrade to, easy to consume releases of software, where every release is effectively equal. Now, of course, we don't anticipate everyone is upgrading 5 times a year, although you're certainly welcome to. And it is certainly our intention to make that process simple and easy, very cloud-like. So you're welcome to stay on a given release, but you're not forced to pick a major or a minor and go through that trouble. You can pick the release that works for you. I will also freely admit that communicating all of this on a main stage in a short period of time is difficult. We have a breakout session for the Click roadmap where we will go through this in excruciating detail. And I would suggest, if this is interesting to you, spend time there. But the important takeaway for everyone in this room is that our intention to deliver innovation to you at a higher pace and allow you to consume that at a pace that's relevant and reasonable for you. And also, we can all start referring to the next release as the June 2017 release. And we've also done a huge amount of work over the last 12 months, delivering new versions of QlikView, launching ClickSense Cloud Business, launching Geo Analytics, launching new versions of Sense, of imprinting, and of our connectors, our web connectors, as Lars pointed out. But in a way, what we've delivered, Click, is much less exciting than what you've delivered. It is an amazing community in this room. Just take a look at these screenshots of the amazing extensions, applications, visualizations that you, literally you in this room, have delivered on top of this platform. And I can tell you, standing on the stage a year ago, finding some examples of amazing applications built on our platform was a challenge. And this year, we were turning people away, right? Or I could have just stood here with 20 minutes of screenshots scrolling by, right? An amazing bevy of applications built on top of this platform, delivering tremendous value to your users and to your customers. It is amazing. I constantly am getting emails with amazing applications built on this platform. Unique solutions that are valuable and add competitive advantage to your users and customers. Unbelievable. So thank you all very much for the amazing work that you've done on top of the platform. So, amazing work, but sometimes it's helpful, I believe, sort of to see this stuff for real. So, Internet of Things is, in a way, a perfect use case for Click. Because the value in Internet of Things is about associations. It's about bringing data together and seeing unexpected insights from details and from aggregates and across a whole range of different data sources. It's sort of the perfect example of where a platform strategy is exactly the right strategy. And to show off an amazing solution, an IoT solution, I'd love to invite to the stage Mike Prorock from Measure.io. So welcome. Actually, hang out here for a sec. Oh, you want to? Yeah.
So.
Oh, yes. So, Mike, maybe you could share a little bit about who Measure.io is, what you're doing. I see you have some kit. It's always exciting to have a thing. It's green. That's very apropos.
It's a thing, and it talks to the internet, so it's part of the Internet of Things.
So if you've ever wanted to know what the Internet of Things is, that's a thing.
So really for us, it's about getting the data, right? And it's about the value that that data can pull back to specific use cases. So, the concept behind Measure.io started with myself and my family moving back to the country and buying a farm, literally. So we started digging in and looking at ways to do that in a more technical way, since I came from a data background. We found out there really wasn't a lot out there. There's a lot of consumer stuff out there in IoT. There's a lot of really high-end, expensive stuff. There really wasn't anything for the 80% of farmers that were out there. And so we started building some things like this. And as a result of that, we also found other people that needed that same data, golf courses, other people that have irrigation, large properties like the one we're at here, right? So we focus on pulling in that environmental data, analyzing that on the back end, and then most importantly, using Qlik to pull all that data together with all the other external data that really matters to our end users. So this is sometimes satellite data, often it's business data, cost data, labor data, et cetera, and how do we tie all that together for them so that they can get answers?
Excellent. So maybe share with the group here a little bit about the QAP, the platform, and how that's uniquely valuable in building the Measure.io solution.
Absolutely, Anthony. So from a key thing for us, we needed something that would tie in as a part of our ecosystem. So we were building a software as a service platform. We were building it up in Amazon, on AWS, right? And we needed another strong component to really tie the data together for us. So we had Cloudera to pull in, ingest, and analyze large amounts of data and do all sorts of cool predictive analytics stuff on, but we needed something to pull all those results together. And because of the approach that was taken with QlikSense, we actually had an open API to draw on. We were able to go through and piece this together and use this to tie all those other components we needed to work with. So it really enabled us to accelerate our time to market, and importantly, it added one other cool thing, which was we were able to, rather than just build an application for our specific end users, who are golf course superintendents and farmers and property managers, we were able to go through and serve the data scientist as well. So we've been able to work closely with nonprofits and research institutions, a couple of prominent universities, and really put this data back into their hands and see what they can do with it in a data discovery manner. So if we hadn't gone down the route of Qlik, we would be able to be forced to go down the path of just serving one set of users, and now we have this openness.
That's amazing. So I guess you could say Qlik is the glue that holds together the Internet of Things.
It absolutely is. I mean, Qlik is really helping us tie this data from little cellular and other network devices all the way back up into the hands of the end user.
Cool. So I'd love to see it. Would you show it to us?
That would be great. I'll walk over and we'll fire it right up.
Nothing like a demo to make the Internet of Things come to life in a very literal sense.
We'll wait for screen to pop up here.
That's a farm.
So now I think you can actually see, you can actually see our farm back home. So we use this as a good test bed. It's a kind of a nice advantage we have somewhere to test right locally. I can walk out in my backyard and pop a new device in and test it. This also lets us do some fun things where we can do things we wouldn't normally be able to do, like control different devices without impacting end users. You don't necessarily want water coming on a golfer as they're walking by. So we're looking at a couple of sensors here. So let's go ahead and just click one and go ahead and take a look at some of the readings that are coming in. You can see it's a nice high humidity day, sitting at a pretty normal ground temperature reading. But let's go through and look at the fact that we have Qlik tied in here. So we can go through and grab a couple of sensors all together in this one area and see what the conditions look like overall.
So in this context, what you're doing, using the Qlik engine, give people a way of associating, in this case, the sensor data, but you're also bringing in a bunch of other data sources.
We are as well. So one of the interesting things is we can go in and look at, say, the soil survey data. So if we're looking to expand out and perhaps buy some of the land available next to us, we want to make sure it's suitable for growing. We also may want to go through and look at some of the satellite data that feeds back in from various sources, whether this is false color infrared. In this case, we're pulling USDA data. Some of you may be, or may not be aware, but the USDA flies planes over quite regularly and is actually scanning for how good the growing conditions are. So this is critical data for golf course operators, critical data for cities who are managing parks, and also for farmers to see where they're having problem points.
And also real-time sources, as I understand.
We are. So one of the interesting things, and let's start zooming in on this nice little dark plot here. We were looking at some weather data that actually, I think, streamed in prior to us popping up the screen share. But you can see, we actually have a sensor up here on stage.
What? So, over here?
We do. We transplanted some of the farm up here.
So this is a real-time, this is a farm on a main stage at Qonnections. I think that's a first. I don't know. Anyone for basil mojitos?
So you can see here, we're slowly accumulating this data. This is feeding back in. This is actually tied off that RT humidity sensor. And actually, funny enough, it's this irrigation sensor that we're looking at right over here.
So you literally picked the farm up, put it on stage. And is this reading literally live from here?
It is. So we are seeing this nice little dark bar that's floating right across is reading real time right from that, and it's tied back into the associative model. So Anthony, if you'd be so kind, let's water the garden.
Do you think I should do a little real-time farming here?
Let's see it.
So you're saying I can just sort of water the plants and
you can.
See if we can get any...
And we start to see nice little spikes. So, and what's interesting here, assuming our webcam feed didn't go down, you can see we actually have a sprinkler on. That should be cutting off automatically. We'll see if it actually did. Sometimes the webcam latency lags there, but yes.
There you go.
So we on the back end, we're watching the data come in, and we have a series of event processors that introspect this data and then process it out for different alerts. Now, this is useful for obvious applications like, hey, let's not water when it's raining out, which I'm sure all of you have seen. But there's other interesting things. So predicting, for instance, when ground temperature is going to get too cold and kill off certain species of grass like Bermuda grass. This is a huge problem across Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina for golf courses. Other areas are pest emergence, or when should I plant a certain thing. We were actually able to bring a lot of our vegetables at the farm to the market 2 weeks prior to everyone else in our area because we were planting using predictive algorithms.
Excellent.
Yep. So just taking a look at the data here, I just want to do one more thing since this is the farm back home, and I want to go look at the raised beds, see what the actual conditions are. So in this case, we're looking at 21% soil moisture. I actually want that up around 24%. We just planted some new stuff in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and flip that back on. And provided we don't have too much internet lag, we'll actually see that sprinkler come back on here.
There you go. Excellent. All right. So thank you, Mike. That is amazing. And thank you for sharing and showing, and thank you for giving me my first farming opportunity live on stage.
You have now contributed to the farming ecosystem live on stage. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. And what I love about this example, Mike and the team at Measure.io, this is a startup. These guys are building a business, generating new customers, putting people to work, and doing amazing innovation on the back of the Qlik platform. Amazing work, and thank you for sharing that with us. So now let's talk a little bit about what we're delivering in June 2017, the June 2017 release. So we have amazing innovation around data, around self-service data preparation, around new connectors, amazing innovation on the platform, around new APIs, governance, and all the work that we're doing on open source, and incredible innovation in the area of analytics with new visualizations and all kinds of new intelligence around color. But enough PowerPoint. I think it would be more fun to actually see the June 2017 release live and in action. And to do that, none better on planet Earth than our own Josh Good to show us his 5 favorite things. So Josh. All right, so Josh is going to show us his 5 favorite things in QlikSense June 2017.
Thank you, Anthony. So, Yeah, it was a big, big task to come up with just 5 things, and I had 2 conditions when I started this. One is we would spell favorite correctly with a Canadian U, and 2, I get to pick the 5 favorite things. So we'll bring it up here, and my first favorite thing is actually something that is really familiar to a lot of us who've been around for a while, is ClickView. ClickView now can be fully converted over into ClickSense. So you might have a ClickView app like this. Maybe you have one you've been using for a while, or maybe someone else has one that's shared on Community. And all you need to do is you jump over, grab your ClickView app, you drop it on, and it converts. Now, I'm not just converting the script, I'm converting over all the visualizations, all the measures, and all the dimensions as well. That comes up, I can see what converts over. The nice thing here is it's more than just dumbly bringing things over. You might have noticed like current selections didn't come over because you already get that over in ClickSense. Click Create App, and then over in ClickSense here, we'll just refresh that, and you'll see the new app should come in. I did it too quick. The new app should come in. Update app. This is awesome when this happens. It's not a demo if something doesn't quite go right. Let's get that right out of the way. Trust me, the new app comes in, and luckily, I have one staged right here. So once the new app comes in, you're given exactly what you need to bring everything in. So I've just brought in the same dimensions and measures, brought in the same visualizations I had over in ClickSense, and I can actually bring in and recreate the app I had. Now, I don't recommend you just move stuff over. You probably want to do something here. So this is a great opportunity to enable more self-service with your ClickView investment, or perhaps leverage someone else's investment. So that takes me to my second favorite thing, which is visual data prep for developers. Last year, we introduced bubbles and visual data prep, and it was really exciting. But to be totally honest, it was more like help you get started type thing. It wasn't something that I'd sit down and be like, I'm going to build a production app. But now, if I want to add more data and I want to transform that data, I can do a whole lot more with visual data prep. So I've gone into the new Add Data screen. If you're a Click Cloud user, you've already seen this because it's already on Click Cloud. And I can see all the connectors that are available to me. I can see my connectors I've already connected to. And of course, I can simply just drag and drop something else in. So now I've dragged and dropped in some more data, and I'm going to add that in to my existing app. It'll process that, figure out the associations, and bring my 2 bubbles up. I now can transform that data like I never could before and do some quite complex things that I would have had to go over to scripting for before. First of all, when I click, I get to see the data itself. I can understand what my data looks like, what the properties are of it. In this case, this is some invoice information. And then maybe I need to parse that data out. So in this case, I'm going to parse it out based on the exclamation mark. And then maybe I have something like it's a control number, routing number, and shipping number. And I click Create Fields. I've now parsed that data out and created 3 new fields on the fly using a totally visual interface. So now all I need to do is I can just take my bubbles and I just drag one on top of the other and they associate. Isn't that great? Oh, right. Okay. So for those of you paying attention, might have noticed I brought this data over from a ClickView app where I did scripting. I could have also done scripting in ClickSense. The deliveries table is a scripted table. It was done through back-end scripting. But I want to use it through visual data prep. So I can click Synchronize Tables, and now we will take that scripting table and turn it into just a regular old bubble. And I can now drag one on top of the other and use it like a regular bubble. So I can combine the worlds of scripting with the world of full visual data prep. Not only can I combine it, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I was hoping for the applause because I'm really excited about that. Ingo, one of our partners, he specifically asked me for that 2 months ago, and I was like, yeah, we'll see what we can do. So we did something about it. Now I'm into the actual deliveries table. This was originally a scripted table. It's been synchronized, and I can do more visual data prep on there. Maybe I have a custom sort order. Here I have some various deliveries, and there isn't a great way to sort this except for a human to actually dictate exactly how things should be sorted. And I can just drag that around, and I've now reordered the sort. That will be globally through my ClickSense app whenever I use it. I maybe have the carriage information. This was the cost associated with the shipping. Maybe I want to bucket it. Well, that's something you can do in script, but that's, you got to really know what you're doing to script that. So why don't I just add my own buckets, like returns for anything that's negative. And then we'll say S for small shipments. And then we'll go, back one. We'll say medium shipments are up to 10, and then large shipments. And there we go. I've just created some buckets on the fly, custom named them, custom set out the values for them, and I click Create Buckets, and now my data model will now have a new field which has all of that data bucketed and labeled correctly here on the right-hand side. So I've shown you a whole bunch of things about how I can do things and adding fields, manipulating sort orders, but what if I want to change the data itself? I can now change data too. So here I have the service level, and everything that begins with the letter O is actually a premium service. So I can select on those. I did a search first for O, and I can select on those, and then all of those fields that I've selected, I can rename that data or actually replace the data and write premium. There we go. I click replace, and now you'll see in the preview, I now have the original data for some things, but then the word premium for when I've changed that data. I've actually gone in and replaced data as well. So that's a whole lot of visual data prep. Those are all the sorts of manipulations you may want to do when you're bringing data in. I was able to do that on top of scripting tables if I wanted to, or I can do it on native tables that I brought in through visual data prep. The one last thing I'll show you is what if I want to add some more data and concatenate tables. So I brought in 2 tables. In this case, I have two sets of customer records, legacy and then my new system. That's coming in. And if I demoed this to you last year, I would have just made all the fields the same. It would have been like, pizzazz, they've concatenated together because all the fields are the same. And you, sir, in the back there with your arms crossed, you're saying, no, that's not the real world. And, well, I kind of agree with you. So what we have now is you can concatenate tables through the visual interface. So I've now selected those 2 tables. I can edit the mappings. Click Intelligently has figured out which fields are probably the same. And then it has some fields that it couldn't quite figure out. Well, these 2 fields here, I don't need them anymore. They're legacy, don't use them. And this name field can go over here. I can rename the fields so they're all the same. And now I've just concatenated together all my accounts with a complex concatenation through a total visual drag and drop interface. So it makes it really easy to concatenate tables. So finally, I'm going to use the improved magic wand and associate all of those tables together. And then I just load my data up. And there we go. I've now loaded my data up, and I'm able to create my app. So my next favorite thing is new charts and color intelligence. We've built out a whole bunch of new charts and visualizations available in ClickSense, and done a bunch around color intelligence. You may remember that we started to do that in 3.2 with measures that you can see here, where I'm able to govern the colors of my measures so that everything remains in sync across my entire app. We've taken that further with dimensions now. So I have a dimension here that's in my master library, and I can actually go in and edit the colors for that dimension. We have a whole new tab for color values, and maybe I want to use a different set of colors here. So there we go. I've totally changed all the colors. Now, I just used a standard color palette there, but what if I want to customize my color palette. In this case, there's a bunch of stores, and maybe I want to make some of them a specific color because I'm looking at selling certain stores, selling off brands. So I can go in and make everything a single color, like this. I'm going to pick the lighter color. And then I can manually select specific stores. We'll select Canaford and Metro. And for Metro, I'm going to pick any color I want here. Let's go with this beautiful, beautiful green. And we'll save that. And now you can see what I've done is I now have everything's in gray except for two sets of two of my dimension measures. And I can see those, and they really pop out in my visualization. Great way to use color to highlight data. So if I want to show you some of the new visualizations, well, let's go and look at the histogram. So here I have my lead times on a scatter plot, which gives me a feeling about, I sort of have something around about 5 days is my lead times, but it'd be nice to just have that in a simple histogram. Wouldn't it be great if it was like 2 clicks to make a histogram? Well, it is. So there we go. We now have a histogram. You simply just select the dimension, and it's done. Builds the whole thing out. If you want to do more to it, we can even adjust it. It has some default values, but let's make my bars down to just 1 day width. And there we go, a really nice histogram by day, built out simply, drag and drop, ready to go. So that's built off our new visualization platform that we're actually open sourcing out. You may have heard it called Picasso. And so this will enable us to deliver a whole bunch of new visualizations in the coming year. We do have a few more though. So here I have a bar chart. And isn't this beautiful the way I've nested the dimensions to make it really easy to read? You can tell how, sort of how the data is distributed, not really that well. Yeah, this is the thing you'll run up against is wanting to nest in a bar chart. And there's a better way to do it. Our PhD visualization experts have come up with the distribution plot. So I'm going to drag the new distribution plot over and convert that bar chart over to a distribution plot. And now I'm going to visualize the data in a totally different way. So now I can see very easily that, say, in the Americas, the data sort of centers around this region here. But I can also see my outlier data as well, all in a single simple visualization. It tells me what my min and my max is, as well as it gives me a feeling about where the data is. A very approachable chart, really easy to use, and anyone can understand it. We have another one, though. Some of you are saying, but Josh, why wouldn't I use a box plot to do that? Well, you could use a box plot to do that. The much, much requested box plot is now here. Yeah. And for those of you less familiar with a box plot, like me, I'd have explained to me, the bar tells you the lower 25% of the data in this case. The box is 50% of your data, and then the other bar on the right is the upper 25% of your data. So you can understand, just like with the distribution plot, you can understand how your data's, where the data weight is and what the range is. Now this one is being done with a percentile base, but the box plot experts out there are like, but I use 2-key. Well, sometimes I like to 2-key as well. And so we can switch that over and look at a 2-key as well. There's others who may say, but Josh, I'm a ClickView developer. I want control over everything. And well, you can do that as well and come out of the presets, and you can actually go in and edit every single expression that will put the points on your box plot. So you have full control over your box plot. So there we have it. Great new visualizations and color intelligence, my number 3 favorite thing. You can see the new visualizations, the capabilities around the color intelligence have transferred over to the bottom left. And then brings me to number 4, Geo Analytics. So Geo Analytics is a huge, huge leap forward in what we can do for geospatial data. In this case, I have a beautiful map. And often when we talk about Geo Analytics, that's what people think of is, oh, you have beautiful maps now. And we do. But we have a whole lot more than just beautiful maps. You can do really intelligent geospatial things like this. So here we are in Toronto, and I have 5 stores, and I'm looking at the drive times to my stores. So to the Scarborough Town Center store, I can see the drive times. It's not just a dumb circle around, by distance. Anyone who's driven a car knows distance is not an indicator of time for a car because of traffic and highways and so forth. And you can see how the drive time extends through the roads and the highways around Toronto. So that really helps me understand what access I have to my population base. Now, what if I wanted to add a new store? Well, here's a different visualization, looking at it a little differently, and this is predicting where my largest consumer base is based on candidate stores. And we can see here that the Richmond Hill store, that looks like the store I should open up. The thing, though, is, as we've been talking about all morning, is human intelligence adds a whole lot to analytics. And in this case, maybe I know a competitor is opening a store in Vaughan. So I really won't have access to these catchments in the same level as it's being predicted through this setup. So we'll select on those catchments, use the power of the associative model to exclude selections, and now I've redone the entire analysis in a geospatial way using the power of the Kix engine, and I know that actually I'll be better off to open a store in Brampton than I would be in Richmond Hill. So that takes us to number 5, my fifth and final favorite thing. And this is the advanced analytic integrations we now have. And I'll warn you, this demo is not very exciting because it looks just like ClickSense. It just works. What's happening behind the covers, though, is truly amazing. We have open APIs that are fully supported that can communicate from the Kix engine to other data engines peer-to-peer. So in this case, I'm using R. I'm fully integrated with an R engine, and the Kix engine is going to talk directly to an R engine when I make a selection. So we'll maybe select on a few products here, and if you watch my decision tree, the values in the decision tree are going to change. Now, if you missed that, why don't we do a full recalculation of decision tree, and you see it actually reordered that decision tree. This can not only be done with R, it can be done with Python, it can be done with Spark, and it can be done with any other open engine that you want to integrate for your analysis. So this isn't an R integration, although that's the most popular and requested thing. It's also an integration with any engine as well, and that's part of the platform strategy. So I'm really excited about this because I think next year we're going to see even more interesting integrations that probably come from you and not from Qlik itself. So there we have it. That's my 5 favorite things. Converting QlikView apps,
Josh.
visual data prep.
Josh?
Yeah, no, these are my 5 favorite things today.
No, I know. This is great. I mean, I love these 5 favorite things. These are pretty awesome. But I'm going to say, I think we can do better at Qlik, right? These were Josh's 5 favorite things, but I think we have one more thing. I'd like to present Vinay's 6 favorite things.
Come on up.
And just so you know, I fixed the spelling error for you here in America. We don't need the extra U, Josh. All right? So we already have a pretty extensive desktop and mobile strategy. We deliver at the promise of delivering analytics at the point of decision. We understand that our users use multiple devices. They use them anytime, anywhere. And we understand that they might get an insight on an iPad just as much as on a desktop. We deliver a platform that's truly mobile, that allows you to use these analytics anywhere. However, there is one problem. Sometimes you're in a place, in a geography, or in a location where you don't have a network, or you might have poor connectivity. Now today, with ClickSense, there's no real good way to use ClickSense on an iPad if you're disconnected, right? Well, Josh, I've been waiting for a long time to say this, but we are announcing the ClickSense mobile app. What's amazing about this app is that it's powered by the exact same Kix engine that's available on an enterprise server. We managed to port that Kix engine, Josh, on the iPad so you can have the same exact consistent user experience that are used to on an enterprise server. You can get that when you're offline, disconnected from any network on your iPad.
So these aren't just like snapshots of the data. This isn't like a dumbed down version of ClickSense.
No,
This
Josh,
is the identically the same engine stuffed onto your iPad.
absolutely. This is going to blow your mind, but the exact same Kicks engine that's available. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, I don't believe you, but since we're on the main stage, let's see it.
Well, there's a lot of things that are happening today which are unbelievable. So if we can just bring up the iPad. All right, so what you're seeing in front of you is the iPad I have here on stage with me. And you see on the lower corner there, there's a ClickSense icon, which is the ClickSense native app. It's an app that's built for the iPad and uses all of the native capabilities, including embedding the engine in there, right? And it's pretty cool. So I'm just going to open it up. I can configure a number of servers here, and I can see I'm already disconnected. So I'm going to pop back, try to connect to the server just so you can see what's going on. Whoops, sorry. Like you said, nothing like a Qonnections demo that doesn't go wrong, right?
Well, I mean, you said you're going to demo offline, so, you know.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to demo offline. Take it easy there. So I have servers here, a number of servers that have been configured. So I might have multiple servers in the organization, multiple username passwords. I can go in there. I've got one that's called Qonnections, which sort of remembers my username password. So I'm going to go in there. My username password is already in. I don't have to type it again and again. I just hit the login button and just move on. As soon as I log into the server, right now I'm online, as you are very aware, right? I'm connected to the server, and I'm browsing the server with all of my streams, all of my apps. I've got a couple of apps in the pharma sales stream. I've got one app that's quite big. It's about 300-400 megabytes. I don't want to quite download the entire app because I'm visiting a customer in a couple of days. So what I want to do is I want to bring down a smaller version of that app. So I can go into the app if I want to. Now again, this is optional. I don't have to slice the app.
So I don't have to take a slice of the app. I can take the whole app.
You can take the whole app if you want to. But in this case, I really want to just take a small slice. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I go into the products tab right here. And at the bottom, you see this take offline button. It's a button that will create a slice of the app. So for example, I could go to district. I say New Jersey, territory, Upper Manhattan, and then I can go hit the take offline button. It brings up a little interface that allows me to generate a smaller slice of the app. Once that's done, I've already done this before, so I can go back to the hub, go back to my stream, and there's an app called Pharma Market Share, which is available to me. Now what I could do is I can download this app for offline use if I want to, like a good chef, or I've already done that. So now, let's hit the airplane mode and see what happens. What do you think is going to happen, Josh?
So you're offline.
I'm completely offline.
Well, you've sold us saying that the app's going to work exactly the same. So let's
see. So what I want to do is just go into the app, open it completely offline using my local Kicks engine that's running on the iPad. I go to the dashboard. So far, it's all pretty static. I can see what my KPIs look like. I want to go there, and now I want to see who my top physicians are. So I'm going to make some selections. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. I'm making live selections in my data using my Kicks engine. I can see who my top physicians are, and I can go, if I want to see who are the physicians, who are the other physicians, I can go and do an alternative. So I'm selecting alternatives. Again, using the engine. The amazing thing here is if you're a ClickSense user, you're looking at the demo and going, what's the big deal? And that's kind of the point. Exact same user experience, local versus remote, it doesn't really matter. And then when you go back online, you can go to the hub. You can actually update the app if there's a data update in the backend.
Wonderful.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh and Vinay. Thank you guys very much. Awesome job. Thank you. My clicker. We have a core value at Click, take responsibility. I think, Vinay, you may have taken it a little too far by interrupting, but fair enough. I will grant you your 6th favorite thing. So exciting stuff. I hope everyone gets a sense. There is a lot of richness in the June 2017 release of ClickSense, but there is so much more to talk about today. I want to shift the conversation from the present, from the moment, from what we're shipping today to the future. And I want to talk about 3 big ideas that are guiding our development efforts for the next 12 months. Again, I want to be careful and clear. What we're about to show you, or actually a series of things we're about to show you, are not things you should expect in the June 2017 release. These are capabilities which will express themselves in the software over the course of the next 12 months. And again, our hope and ambition in this presentation is to share more with you as a community than we've done in the past. So these are exciting new capabilities coming in the next 12 months. And guiding that effort are the themes of people, data, and ideas. And we have three big ideas that we would like to share with you that are centered around those three big concepts. They are the first big idea of leave data where it is, the second, a true hybrid cloud platform, and the third is from BI to AI. So for each of these big ideas, I want to share with you a little bit of market context, why we're focused in this area, and then we'll actually show off some cool stuff. So let's start with leaving data where it is. We talked last year about the idea that the data landscape is changing, and we think that pace of change in the data landscape is increasing. But we see a shift. There's a shift away from big data as an end in itself to the idea of big insights. Our view is the big data landscape is maturing, and everybody is now focused on getting value out of their big data investment. And value in data comes from combinations of data. Dan Sommer likes to say, combinations of data trumps big data every time, and I could not agree more. We see this time and time again with partners and customers. When you bring data together, insights are generated. And so Qlik is spending a lot of energy focused in this area of data where we can create real innovation. And you've seen some of that already. So the focus and investment around self-service data preparation. We are doing what we did for data visualization to data preparation. We're making it that easy for everyone in this room to do really sophisticated data preparation tasks, so easy that even Josh can do it. Sorry. Second, we've invested heavily over the last 12 months in the idea of the on-demand app generation model. This idea of creating a top-level summary application that allows every user self-service to create slices of that data for detailed analysis. And lastly, we will share with you in a moment the idea of the Associative Big Data Index. But to help me share our bold and ambitious innovation agenda around data, I'd love to invite to the stage Mike Potter, our Senior Vice President of Global Research and Development. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Anthony.
So big data, our data strategy. Maybe you could kick us off and share a little bit about your perspective on this.
Well, let me start by saying that it's been 3 years since we launched QlikSense. In fact, the June release represents our 10th release of the product, and throughout that entire process, we've continued to invest in the associative technology that is our Qix engine. We've improved its quality, its scale, its performance, its reliability, and in fact added more and more capabilities as you've seen here, not the least of which is the mobile offline. We've taken it to the cloud. Today, we're seeing our customers invest bigger and more in this technology, and we're seeing bigger and bigger deployments and more complex environments in which it operates. But what are we doing next? Well, let's talk about our on-demand application generation. So let me start by taking an analogy. Imagine a lake of data. Most approaches take two approaches to solving this problem. First of all, they do an extract from the lake and do a deeper analysis on that extract, or they try to query the lake using a language like SQL. We're also noticing that most of the use cases that we're seeing are drilled to details use cases, where you start with an aggregate view of your data, and then you isolate a slice in which you want to perform deeper analysis. So for that reason, we introduced on-demand application generation last year. And we've already seen a lot of examples in which it's already proven to be very successful with our largest customers. In fact, a number of them have moved to on-demand application generation away from the other query-based approaches. It's dynamic. It has the ability to blend data. It maintains the user experience so that it's a Qlik associative user experience throughout. and it maintains ultra-fast calculations. Last year, we introduced it. This year, we're announcing that it's a formal part of the product as a supported capability. If you think about our analogy, we basically have given you a map and a navigation system where you can get to the right part of the lake to get access to the right data for deeper analysis.
So I think this would benefit from a demo, but we need it to be a big data demo. So how can we get some big data here?
Well, let me start. So what we did is we took the TPCH benchmark data set. In this case, it's a 40 billion rows of source data. It represents 4.5 terabytes of data on disk. And we're currently storing it as a tabular representation served up by Hadoop. We've also been starting a number of conversations with other companies like Cloudera about how we can further integrate this opportunity.
Excellent. So I'd love to see this, but Mike, I mean, it's fair to say this is a demo, but this is software we're shipping today. We promised the audience the future, but I want to be clear, this is something that everyone in the room could be doing literally today.
That's correct. So it's important for us to put in context that we've made investments in our current engine technology. We're increasing the big data space by looking at specific use cases in which our on-demand application generation is very relevant, and then we're going to talk about the future.
All right, so we're showing the present. Show it to us, the on-demand app generation model.
So it's a very simple demo. I'm just going to start off by picking a few manufacturers. And what I'm doing here by doing these selections is I'm isolating a piece of data that I want to do further analysis on. I picked a region. I'm going to pick a market segment. Twitchy fingers, and I will pick a few customers. So what it does now is, if you notice over in the lower left corner here, you have this green light, in which now it tells me that I can take this slice for deeper analysis, and I'll just simply click on it. And as you can see, we generated from the context app, the aggregate view of the app, an application slice that a user can do on their own, self-service, but within the governance of that context app to do deeper analysis.
All right, so that's where we are today. That's something everyone in the room can use and do today. It is great technology, works really well. Let's blow people's mind. Let's show them what we're working on for the next 12 months, introducing the Associative Big Data Index.
I'm extremely proud to introduce the Associative Big Data Index. We started this project about a year ago, and it basically represents the next step in our journey of click and big data. We took from the core of the Kix engine technology, the associative capabilities, and we basically created a brand new technology that is now capable of indexing the entire big data set, so that you can perform full queries of the entire data set with an associative click experience. It's highly distributed. It works, we've implemented using multiple microservice processes that can operate on-premise or in the cloud, regardless of where the data resides, or both in a hybrid environment. The indexes can be located anywhere, even co-located with the data. They're reusable in that one set of indexes can service an entire family of applications. And lastly, they can be incrementally updated with high-speed incremental updates, which opens up the possibilities for real-time examples, near real-time examples, monitoring applications. So if you think about our lake analogy, we've in fact turned the lake green. And that's not a global warming green, it's a click green. So rather than bring the data to click, we're now bringing click to the data.
So this is really game-changing technology. We got to show it. This is game-changing technology. We're going to see, for the first time ever, live, the Associative Big Data Index. So maybe set a little context for folks in the room. Clearly on the right, or I guess everyone's left, we have ClickSense. What in the world's going on the center screen?
All right, so as you said, Anthony, on either side, what we have is a ClickSense app sitting on top of the full data set. Now, in the on-demand application generation case, that application was an aggregate view, a subset of the data from which you were then able to slice and pull deeper applications where you could do further analysis. This application is a full picture of the source data from the TPCH data set. It has over 750 million customers. The fact table has 20 billion rows, and there are over 500 million suppliers. Now, the center screen here is how we're trying to illustrate how the back end of this works. So currently, this is implemented in AWS in basically 8 nodes, across which we're running over 1,400 microservice processes, each managing their part of the index. And so what we're going to try to do within this graph is basically illustrate with each of the bars the activity level that goes on as I go through the application. And as Josh pointed out to me earlier, if I do this right, this will be the fastest and most boring big data demo you've ever seen. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select some customers.
Well, hold on a second. That was just way too fast. That was finished calculating before you clicked the green button.
It works.
And then what? And then what happened in the center?
So as you see in the center, what we're showing you here is how the 8 nodes and the 1,400 processes are all working on their part of the index in a distributed parallel way in order to satisfy the request, and all the user sees is the selection.
Unbelievable. Now you can applaud. That is amazing.
So I'll keep going. So the other thing that's really important to see here is this next page, in which we could, on this page we can really illustrate the true associative capabilities that we still maintain. So I'm going to start by selecting a supplier. Now what you see is this customer is now in white. It shows that it's associated, it's relevant. But now what I'm going to do is I really want to see what suppliers this customer actually interacts with. So I'm going to make this selection as well. And what you'll notice that for these pairings, you'll see that we've isolated Algeria. I'm now going to remove the supplier selection. And you notice here, these are all the suppliers that this customer is now interacting with. And as I scroll, you can see that it's showing the associativity in both directions.
So green, white, and gray on top of almost 21 billion fact values distributed across 8 nodes on the cloud, calculating in real time.
It just works.
Amazing.
So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show a very quick example of how we do incremental update at speed. So the incremental update approach that we're taking here is that given that the indexes are highly distributed, you have the ability to add them in parallel and also do use cases where you can do time-based incremental updates, which now allow for monitoring and real-time use cases. So we'll start with the real-time incremental update demo here.
Holy cow.
Okay, so what you're seeing here on the screen now is we are illustrating the incremental update rate of the data set, millions and millions of incremental rows adding to the index in real time. And as you can see here, there's the total number of transactions being processed, the total number of, and we're showing an aggregate view of a bar chart as the increments are being added. All of this is in real time and illustrates our ability to show not only can we manage the index and reuse it, but we can add to it without having to process all your data, and most importantly, without the need to move it.
Unbelievable. So that is amazing stuff. Not only did we see association in the context of amazingly large data volumes, but we even saw it working in real time. So maybe peel back the covers a little bit. What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, what's most important here is that we've designed the big data index for our hybrid strategy. So it works in the cloud, it works on premise, but what we want to make sure you do is start our journey today. So as I said before, our Kix engine has gone through 3 years of tremendous improvements. It's the best it's ever been. We have our on-demand application generation, which provides you with an ability today to work with big data use cases, particularly the drill to details use cases, where you're starting with an aggregate view and you're moving to a specific slice that you want to do more detail. And then last, our big data index is really where you have the opportunity to go after those use cases where you're looking at the whole data set as well as real-time and near real-time examples. But what's most important is this all works together. So there's plenty of examples where you can have a big data index in which you can use ODAG as well. And the idea there is you can give governed self-service big data use cases on top of a click experience throughout the entire data. If you think of it in terms of the analogy, not only do we give you a map, a set of navigation controls, but we now give you sonar, so you can go anywhere in the lake to any depth.
Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mike and the development team and this amazing innovation. Thank you. This is game-changing stuff. I want everyone to appreciate how big an investment we've made here over the last 12 months and also our strategy for delivering this over the next 12 months. So the first big idea, first guiding principle for sharing where Qlik is going from a roadmap perspective is the idea of leaving data where it is. The idea that value comes from combining different data sources, bringing association to big data. Everyone in this room can be successful with big data initiatives today, but we have a really differentiated and innovative strategy where we're going to let you bring the power of Qlik to your data, not force you to bring your data to Qlik. Really exciting stuff. Thrilled to be able to share it with you this morning. Which brings us to our next big theme, the idea of the hybrid cloud platform. So from a market perspective, we believe that Cloud BI is on a tipping point. We believe that we're in this moment where we're going to see a shift to Cloud BI as a strategy. You saw that in some of the early videos that we started the day with. Customers are clearly articulating cloud is an important part of their strategy. But I think we could all agree that cloud hasn't taken off in the BI space at the rate that it has in other parts of the technology spectrum. And our view is that's because the market has forced an or conversation around big data, including Qlik, by the way. So we tell you, and other vendors tell you, you can have your BI in the cloud, or you can have your BI on-premise. You choose. And of course, customers are forced into a position of having to pick between those deployment choices, between those deployment options. But what if we could change the conversation? What if we could change the conversation for Cloud BI to an and? What if we could put you, customers and partners, in control of the transition to cloud, where you are able to make decisions related to your business, your applications, your use cases about how and when you leverage cloud technologies. To make the and possible, we need a platform shift. We need something to change in the environment that makes it possible to have an and conversation. And our view is that there is a new platform shift that's powering a new generation of cloud, and Qlik is on the forefront of this investment. Going back a little bit, a little history lesson, Qlik has always benefited from platform shifts. The shift from 32 to 64-bit made the in-memory analytic approach possible. In fact, you could argue that this room, everyone in this room, is a result of that platform shift. We uniquely took advantage of 64-bit hardware, allowing us to scale to much bigger iron, as it were. And the rise of cloud and cloud infrastructure has allowed us to deliver solutions like Qlik Sense Cloud Business. So now we can elastically scale infrastructure. I would bet that a majority of the customers in this room currently run Qlik on private and public cloud infrastructure. So cloud has happened. It's already there. But our view is that there's a new paradigm coming, and it's this microservices container-based architecture which is going to allow us to scale not the infrastructure, but the individual workloads. And I want everyone in the room to be careful to not be fooled by cheap, poor imitations. If your BI provider tells you that in order to use their cloud, you have to first install their desktop client, they are not a hybrid cloud provider. What is the right solution is a model that puts you in charge of deciding where these workloads run, allowing you to deploy workloads on-premise to servers that you manage in your data center, to span those across data centers, and then be able to leverage public cloud infrastructures like Amazon and Azure and Google Cloud, and your own private cloud infrastructures, and Click cloud infrastructure. So one set of workloads that are spanning across all of these different environments. And we have already delivered on this robust roadmap. So Click Cloud today is already running on a microservices architecture. This infrastructure and technology is in place for the mobile and desktop client. You may not have realized it, but you saw a hybrid cloud implementation when you looked at the mobile desktop demo that Vinay did. Same problem. An iPad is just a server running off on the edge of a network, right? And there's a whole range of capabilities which we will deliver over the next 12 months. So this is not a one-and-done implementation. We will be delivering on a hybrid cloud vision over the course of the next year and in the years to come. So I think it's sometimes helpful to see this as a demo, and I will appreciate this is a little bit of a challenging, it's very hard to demonstrate a hybrid cloud infrastructure. What you're looking at on the screen are 7 nodes in a hybrid cloud implementation. The first node is running on Amazon. The second 2 nodes are running on ClickSense Cloud. And the last 4 nodes are running on dedicated hardware running in a data center. Each of the little boxes beneath represent a microservice. And when I hit play in a second, you will see that as users come into the system, we are launching and destroying microservices on the fly. The reason we're doing this as a video is because it's a little boring to watch it. So we've actually taken a video and now we're going to speed it up. So if you hit play on the video, you'll see time is streaming by incredibly quickly. As users come into the system, we are spawning these workloads, these microservices on the fly. We're routing users to the correct microservice based on the workload that they're requesting. So when I go and ask for an app and it's already available on a node, we get routed there. And when we don't have it, we spawn one. You'll also see microservices being destroyed in real time. When they're no longer needed, we free those resources for other users. You also can see, if you look carefully, that some of the nodes are doing other work. Some are doing reloads. Some are actually rebuilding big data indexes. Some are allowing you to do analysis and build analysis from an edit perspective. Some are allowing you to view. So we are orchestrating this set of services on the behalf of the user. And most importantly, they span across on-premise architecture, cloud architecture, Click Cloud, all on a common infrastructure. So the user doesn't see the difference. And you can see in the demo, we click into a specific node. You can see all of the work that node's doing and how it's working over time. So again, this is really game-changing technology, and a part of a bigger strategy we have around our platform. And part of building a platform is empowering you for developers, or as developers. We have a very ambitious open source initiative. If you go onto GitHub, you'll see we already have 4 open source projects available. We're launching a 5th one with Picasso, which there's a breakout session on. We also have Click Playground, which lets you get started and understand the APIs. And I'm excited to announce here at Qonnections 2017, over the next 12 months, it's our intention to deliver a certification program for connectors and extensions built on our platform. And I know this is really exciting stuff because for customers in the room, you want to be able to use extensions and connectors that are certified by Click, that we can stand behind and that can even be supported. And from a partner perspective, you want to be able to put things on Click Market and have Click stand behind them. So this is a really exciting initiative. It's certainly exciting for us, and we're excited to make it available to you over the next 12 months. So I thought it'd be also a little bit fun to show you the power of the platform. None better on the planet to do that than Todd Margolis, who's going to share with us some of the cool stuff we're doing from a platform perspective. Hopefully, if he's somewhere. Right, he's coming from backstage. Excellent. Todd Margolis.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So it's my great pleasure to demonstrate some of the really cool things that we're doing with the Qlik Analytics platform and integrating into some new novel interfaces. So the very first one that I'd like to show you is how we're doing conversational analytics using a bot. So in this case, we've integrated with the popular messaging application called Telegram, and our own pre-sales, Juan Gerardo, has worked on building a really amazing application. So if we can go ahead and share my phone to the screen, please. Great. So you can see these are the different conversations that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and connect to the QlikSense bot here. And we should hopefully see that on the screen. Having a little bit of network issues. I see it fine.
You see it fine?
Can you guys see this? Yeah, it's on the Apple TV.
I agree. Let's
toggle it.
Yeah.
Just got notifications from the Connection app, so clearly I'm on the network.
It's definitely not showing on the.
Go back to that screen share thing, right?
Yeah, up.
Yeah. Just give us
there
this.
we go.
Just give it a minute. It takes a little while to once you connect.
Interesting.
So the app itself is working just fine. Unfortunately, the network here to share it on screen is a little bit of a problem, but I can tell you a little bit about it in the meantime. And so basically what we're able to do is do different types of searching. So you could type in inside of Telegram, you can give it a query. So let's say you're just looking for something like milk, and it will actually return all of the charts that it finds in an application that have something to do with milk. From there, I can actually share that with someone else, someone in another chat group with me, and then they could look at it and respond. It actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's not going to work, so I can't get it to show
That's
up
right.
on the AirPlay.
I'll just talk about it, right?
That's fine.
Yeah. I'll wave my hands. It will make perfect sense. And so we're able to do some pretty advanced stuff. So a lot of the idea around conversational analytics is taking people outside of the hub and app and really delivering the data to the right people at the right time with the right context.
Perfect. So that's a wash, but I'd love to see if we can build into an even more futuristic interface. Because chat, that's so
Sure, that's
year.
easy.
That's easy.
Well, so this is a hard one for me. Anthony, you look a little tired. Why don't you just lay down for a second?
I'm not sure I like where this is going. So if your AirPlay doesn't work.
Yeah, if the network for AirPlay didn't work, we'll see how it works with augmented reality. Let's take it way, way further.
You want me here?
Yes, please, go ahead, lay down, take a load off.
Oh.
Thank you.
This is where I nap.
So what we're simulating here is an example of how we can do things in the field with augmented reality. So in this case, we're looking at an example of how first responders could take advantage of new insights with the Qlik Analytics platform.
Hang on, you're not seeing it. There you go.
Sorry, what?
Keep it.
Okay. And if we can we're going to be streaming the video. So you're going to see what I can see on the screen as soon as the network lets us actually connect that.
I know I'm comfortable.
Oh, it looks like the presenter network is actually down, so all of my web pages are not loading either.
Excellent. Wow.
So we are going to have all of these demos available at the Innovation Showcase on a different Wi-Fi network.
Great. So that is the power of the Wi-Fi network.
Jesus Christ.
So what you would have seen is actually a very cool virtual reality experience where we actually can integrate Qlik into the virtual experience and make it interactive. So, and again, I do think there's an opportunity to go see and experience this. And truth be told, it's more fun when you actually can experience it in 3 dimensions, see Qlik Sense floating literally in front of you. So I would definitely suggest spending a little bit of time and going to that Innovation Showcase experience. There are actually a series of other demonstrations there, voice interfaces and other UI interfaces. And the real idea here is that the power of a platform is that it's open and extensible. That you, as a community, can build on that platform and have that experience of creating the interface which is that is relevant for the use case that you have and the business problem you're trying to solve. So whether it's chat, or whether it's a virtual or an augmented reality experience, that's the interface that you can create on top of it. In addition, it's important to recognize that the hybrid cloud platform is ultimately about cloud. And so we're not interested in creating an or context, but an and context, and really powering your cloud strategy, putting you in charge of your transition to cloud. So that brings us to our third theme that we're using to power the next 12 months of development at Qlik. And this is the idea of moving from business intelligence to augmented intelligence. And from a market perspective, what we see here is the movement towards, in a sense, artificial intelligence. So we really started the morning off with this theme, this idea that computers and compute technology allows us to process and manage much more data, and so we can push more of the computational challenge to the computer itself. But our view is that the really interesting space is this intersection between machine learning, data science, and human reasoning. In fact, we don't think it's this idea of advanced analytics, but the idea of actually advancing analytics. How can we make analytics more valuable and useful from a user perspective? And if you look at the market, traditional business intelligence was poor from a machine learning perspective and poor from a human perspective. Traditional business intelligence was about smart people creating insights for others. I think it's fair that Qlik innovated the modern approach to visual data discovery. We brought a human dimension to visual data exploration. At the same time, we're seeing an explosion in AI companies, or smart data discovery specialists, which are applying machine techniques to data and information to generate insights, sort of get the human out of that process. And our view is that if we can combine these two approaches, combine the best of what a machine can do with the best of what a human can do, the best of what you can do, that can generate an augmented intelligence approach, which is truly game-changing. And I love this idea of moving from passive to generative and to intuitive analytic approaches. Or if you want to be simple about it, think about this like Star Trek, right? The Starship Enterprise succeeds not because it simply runs on pure logic, but it combines the best of the human intuition from the logical response. Best of both together creates a great TV series. No, it creates a great experience. And we're already doing this. Qlik is already an innovator here. So what we do around smart visualizations and our APIs is a great example of giving more to you as a user. A great example was that box plot that Josh showed. In a very simple way, statistical analysis overlaid over an easy-to-understand visualization means that everyone in the room got and saw more than they would have without it. Again, applying machine experience, in this case, a visualization experience. We also do this in areas like location and time. Detecting and understanding the underlying data makes you more successful with that analysis. And around search and natural language processing, this is a really great example of where we can, again, create that experience, put a more natural interface on top of the data. And you saw that in terms of the work we're doing around advanced analytics, integrations to R and Python. It's clear that data scientists are going to use the tools they're comfortable with, for example, R and Python. And we need a way to give the data scientists' work oxygen. And the best way to give that great insight oxygen is to play it through a wonderful and intuitive interface like QlikSense. But we're working on some really exciting stuff beyond that. And we call that Insight Board and the Cognitive Rules Engine. So we have hired the best and the brightest in the industry, the best data scientists and machine learning experts. And they have been working hard to build an engine to deliver insights through the Qlik interface for everyone in this room. And to be very specific, they've built an engine which both understands the data, understands analytics, and understands visualization, so that it can work proactively on your behalf to help you get and understand and get insight out of the data more easily. But again, sometimes it's easier to see than tell. So I'm actually going to take the opportunity. I wanted to show this to you myself. So I want to show you what we're doing in this case. So hopefully we have a network. Let's find out. Good. So I thought we would start to show off what we're doing from an AI perspective with a use case that everybody in the room, I am sure, is intimately familiar with. Somebody sends you a bunch of data, and you want to understand what's going on in that data. So here's a bunch of data, right? In this case, it's order and sales information. And I'm sure everyone in the room is sort of looking at the data and immediately getting some brilliant insights, right? You can see exactly what's going on in this data. No? Wouldn't it be great if you could quickly and easily generate a whole series of insights on top of that data? And this is a perfect example of what makes Qlik amazing. Literally in a click, I see in front of me a whole series of insights, and it was really simple from my perspective. But behind the scenes, an amazing amount of work is happening. 3 rules engines are kicking in. They're gathering the data, understanding the data, figuring out what insights would be relevant, and presenting them to me in easy-to-understand visualizations, right? So, and I don't just dump on the user hundreds and hundreds of visualizations and say, well, you figure it out. Here, I'm actually showing you just the top 11 insights that I can generate on top of the data. So we actually have a ranking algorithm that understands the data and presents these are the most meaningful analyses. You can see, for example, in this data set, it's figured out that order ID is a primary driver of movement in the data. It's presented that as a KPI. You can see that it's showing me the total sales quantity by order ID, a very obvious but important insight to bring to the data. Now, this isn't just about the machine. There's the challenge with traditional generative interfaces, where I simply generate and dump, is that it leaves me out of the process. I'm a smart human. I have some ideas about this data. For example, I might know that product name is not what I'm interested in here, but I'm actually interested in the order ID. Right? And I can actually go ahead and in live sort of change that visualization and give some feedback to the engine that that's what I'm interested in. And this is really important. When I give that feedback to our cognitive rules engine, it actually takes that feedback and all of the feedback it's getting from all of the users in the system, and it gets smarter. And so the next person who looks at this data set, they're going to focus on order ID more heavily because I've given it that feedback. I can also pin an analysis, so I'm interested in this one. I want to go ahead and pin that one, right? And that, again, gives feedback to the system. And obviously, an obvious way to get feedback is by searching. And search is search is a really important way of getting feedback from human beings. So if I say margin by region, immediately I get back a visualization that's relevant. But notice it's smart. Here, the field name is product base margin, not margin. And it figured out through synonym matching that that was actually what I meant. Or more impressively, if I do sales by country, there is no field in this data set called country, but it understands my intent. It literally knows me. And it says, oh, I think I know what you mean by country. You probably want to see it broken down by province. And I want to see that visualization right there. And again, it's not just about sort of picking back the best visualization or picking back the best data. It's about finding the right visualization. So here's a great example. We're comparing price and sales by province, and we're using a combo chart to do that. But if instead of price, I looked at the discount, let's look at the average discount. What you don't know, but I do, is that discount has a very tight distribution of values, whereas price has a very wide distribution of values. And the AI engine is smart enough to know that the best way to see that as a human being, the best way to give it back to me as a user, is in this case through a scatter plot. And again, smart visualization, we'll do this one by order ID as well. Smart visualizations are built right into the system. And so really quickly, really intuitively, I've built up a library of visualizations and analysis which I can then use right out of the box. And again, it's directly integrated right here. So when I go to use these visualizations in the actual application, shockingly, they're in the library, including the measures that were pre-calculated for me and all the dimensionality that's been discovered in that data. So this is a great example of pairing a powerful AI capability with our existing visualization capability. But wait, there's more. I really want to blow your mind here. So let's think about a whole new interface for finding insight in the data. Here I'm using a data set about the Titanic disaster. So lots of people get on a ship sails, not a good outcome, they all die, or many of them die. And the question is, what's going on? How can I find interesting patterns and insight in that data? So here what we have is a really unique user interface where we allow people to really start to see and understand the totality of the data set. And this is a great example of association pairing with a differentiated AI experience. So in this case, I've dropped the name of the passenger on the Titanic onto a canvas, and I get back a visualization of the totality of every one of those passengers. So if I mouse over this, you can see this is literally each name of each of the passengers on the Titanic. And we're clustering those together in a way which helps me start to see, literally see and feel that data. But this isn't that insightful. I'm interested in why a person who sailed on the Titanic either survived or didn't survive. So I can drop that and say, I'm interested in this value. You, computer, tell me what you can tell me about that data. And instantly you can see that I'm starting to see patterns in the data. And I'm getting feedback from the system. For example, I can see that the data fields that it said were most related to whether you survived on the Titanic, were the fare you paid, your gender, and a field called body identification number. Now, this is, again, a perfect example of where the AI-only approach fails. Because this is statistically true. It is true that there is a perfect correlation between whether you survived in the Titanic and whether you have a body identification number. Because I, as a human, know that the body identification number was put on the body bag. So if you're in a body bag, I'm pretty sure you're dead. So I can give feedback to the system and say, you know what, that isn't true. The body identification number is probably not what I'm interested in, and this is a much better way of looking at that information. But I can also start to explore, so I can actually let my own human experience guide the computer. And so, for example, fare, which is how much you paid for the ticket, is obviously a very good predictor of whether you survived. But I also think priority class, which is to say the cabin you were in, might be a better way of thinking about that problem. Because as you think about a ship sinking, people who get onto the lifeboats are coming by class, by cabin. And now you start to see something really easy and obvious and intuitive. You can see a breakdown about who survived the Titanic based on what class of service they were in and their gender. So for example, if I pick a group like this, I can see very quickly these are all people who were in the third class cabin, and they were all men, and they had a horrible survival rate. They didn't survive the disaster at all. In contrast, a group like this, I can see we're all in the first class cabin, we're all female, and had a much higher survival rate. So immediately seeing some insight in the data where the computer is helping me to see that insight. Now, again, what you find with this is it does end up being fun. So you can do things like, let's go ahead and look at the lifeboats that were deployed on the Titanic. We'll drop the gender and class for a second. And literally, you can visually pull together and see who was on each lifeboat. You can literally, in a few seconds, as they all run to their respective lifeboat, you can see the lifeboats, and you can see that not being on a lifeboat was not a good way to survive the Titanic disaster. You can all write that down if you're ever on a boat that's sinking. You can say, I learned at Qonnections, get on a lifeboat. Clearly some good feedback there. But you can also start to see the value of the link to association. So let's go ahead and look at a specific lifeboat. And now I can actually link this back to the ClickSense application. And so I can look at a specific lifeboat and see who was on that lifeboat. So here's the set of lifeboats that we just selected, lifeboat number 12. We can see there's a passenger on it, Sydney Jacobson, and we can see the power of association. So here's the ticket that Sydney was sailing under, and let's go ahead and see associations. Who else was on that ticket? And this is the power of association combined with gaining insights in the data. And you can see that Sydney and her husband Samuel were sailing the Titanic, and the 42-year-old man clearly turned over the lifeboat's seat to his 24-year-old wife. He died, and she didn't. And so the story of the data reveals itself through this differentiated experience, combining an AI experience, helping me find the insight, and a visualization experience, which helps me viscerally see that insight right here in the data. So, we believe we're moving from a business intelligence world to an augmented intelligence world, where we're not just talking about computers taking over, but about how we can advance analytics inside your organization by making it more accessible, easier to use, and faster to find insights. We think this is a combination of an AI experience with the human intuition experience, and that people ultimately are at the center of decision making, and if we can make them better at it, we can be more successful as a community. So, we've shared with you 3 big ideas that are guiding our development efforts: leaving data where it is, a true hybrid cloud platform, and the BI to AI experience. And so we sort of leave ourselves where we started, with ideas that drive our future. Ideas around people, around data, and the ideas that they generate. But I also think it's time to update this picture a bit. If that last demonstration showed or shared anything, is that there's a new player from an analytical usage perspective. It's not just about the person, that the computer or the augmented intelligence is an equal player at this table. And so for next year's Connection, we've added the AI experience into the vision. And you can expect and see tremendous investment and innovation from Qlik around the AI space. And so I leave you with our vision for the next 12 months around the ideas that drive our development efforts and our future. I also want to take a moment and thank everyone at Qlik who worked so hard to deliver everything that we just showed, including the team that helped put a lot of these demos together. Amazing amount of work. And I also want to take a moment and thank everyone in this room for helping build a tremendously valuable community and experience together. This conference and event is an amazing opportunity to share ideas, to share the work that you're doing, and I hope that you take full advantage of the next few days. So thank you all very much, and enjoy the balance of the day.